Check, 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 check.
It's Thursday night, so you know what that means. Welcome to the Highspots virtual gimmick table. I am the guru, Tommy Thomas, here with my very, very special guest. Special guest, who are you?
Well, you know what we got to do, Tommy. And if you're going to ho like you mean it. Let's go, kid. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan from the golden age of wrestling. Tough guy.
Yeah, absolutely. The one and only, the legend himself, Hacksaw, is sitting right next to me,
Yeah,
and we
thank you,
took away
Tommy.
the 2x4s so that way you're not tempted to hit me with one.
Well, you never know. Hogan might show up. I might need to grab a board. But you know, one time, Tommy, I got a really bad splinter in my thumb from my 2x4.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, nasty splinter on the way to the ring. And I went, ho!
We're starting off hot, y'all. I'm just going to say the name of a person, place, or thing, and you just can talk for as long as you, or as little as you want about the said topic. So I'm going to start off with an easy one, or I think what an easy one is. Coach Dave Smith.
Coach Dave Smith, that was the coach that recruited me for my college. I ended up playing my college ball for SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And you know, I was lucky enough to be highly recruited. I had a great high school career. I won the New York State High School Wrestling Championship.
Wow.
I was undefeated. My shot put record still stands in my high school today. I'm like, get those kids some Cheerios 52 years later. And football was my main sport. So I was recruited by Ohio State with Woody Hayes, Penn State with Joe Paterno. But the offensive line coach from SMU came up to Glens Falls, New York, upstate New York, had a big cowboy hat on, a cowboy boots, stuck out like a sore thumb. But my mom fell in love with him, and I came back from Ohio State. And I said, I'm playing for Ohio State. And my mom was like, you'll just be a number at Ohio State. Think about SMU. I went down to SMU, was able to start as a freshman, was captain of the team my senior year, had a great career at SMU. But the biggest thing that happened to me at SMU, Tommy, is Fritz von Erich walked up to me and goes, you know, kid, you might be a good wrestler.
Wow.
And you know what I told him? I said, thank you, sir, but I'll be in the NFL for 10 years. I blew off Fritz von Erich.
Wow. What position did you play?
I was an offensive guard.
Okay,
So
wow.
I'm dime a dozen offensive guard. So I went to the Falcons in 77, had 2 knee surgeries. I went up to Canada in 78 playing with the Toronto Argonauts, offensive guard. I knew I had no long-term future, so I called up Fritz von Erich, and he gave me the gift of pro wrestling. Because back then, if you weren't somebody's son or somebody's nephew, you didn't get in. Jake the Snake, Ted DiBiase, Kurt Hennig.
A lot of Nepo babies in pro
Yeah, that's
wrestling.
the only way to get into business. Now everybody's a wrestler. Everybody's got a wrestling school. Back then it was a closed shop, and Fritz gave me the gift of pro wrestling and allowed me to break into the business.
Wow, incredible. You actually took my next name, which was Fritz von Erich, so we'll skip to the next one. Gino Hernandez.
Gino, I got along great with Gino Hernandez. Gorgeous Gino Hernandez. You know, he was the handsomest guy you'd ever want to meet. He had a big car. He was making a lot of money. And I'm Jabroni Jim. I'm Big Jim Duggan. I just broke in. Gary Hart gave me my first pair of red and black trunks. I had short hair and clean shaven. But Gino took me under his wing a little bit, and I would travel with Gino. And, of course, all the women loved Gino. And I'm like, hi, I'm Jim. So I had a great time. But actually, I wrestled with Gino really early because I brought my gear with me. All you young talent out there, always bring your gear.
Yes.
We were at a show. I think Tully was Gino's partner. Tully didn't show up. They're like, kid, you got your gear? I'm like, yeah. And then they threw me in the ring.
Wow. Sandar Akbar.
Sandar Akbar should be in the WWF Hall of Fame. He was a great manager. I did a whole lot of business with Sandar, him with Kamala, him with One Man Gang. He threw fire in my face, burned my face off. You know, we're talking over the match, and the Skandar's an old timer, you know.
Yes.
And he's like, well, we'll throw some fire in your face. And I'm like, Okay. I seen the tape of it. My whole head is on fire. Holy smokes. He threw so much fire, burnt my beard off, my eyebrow. But anyway, you know what we did, Tommy? We took cigarette ashes and iodine and put it all over my face.
Wow.
So it looked like Sandar had burned me worse than he did. It was a great angle, but we did a whole lot of business in Mid-South with Sandar Akbar. And the people, they really hated him. That was before sports entertainment.
Yes.
Now it's sports entertainment. Hey, everybody's a buddy.
Now they boo him just to, boo him. But
back
then
Sandar Akbar, he wouldn't go out by himself. People hated Sandar.
Absolutely. This is going to be a reoccurring theme. Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Hacksaw Butch Reed. Me and Butch, we battled quite a bit over the years for the Battle of the Hacksaws, which is a big working gimmick. But I think they made him the natural, and I'm still Hacksaw. So how'd that work out? Oh!
Bad News Allen.
Bad News? I didn't really know Bad News too well. You know, he was already an established WWF guy when I came up. But we did WrestleMania together.
Yes.
WrestleMania at the Trump Plaza or Trump Castle or something. And during the whole match, I mean, the one thing at the end, I went to hit him with a 2x4. He swung a chair. But in all the schmaz of everything, a big booger hanging on my nose about this long. And it's flying around like this during the match, at the end of the match. So we get backstage, and News is mad at me. He's like, damn it, Duggan. Everybody's laughing at that booger. It took away from all the heat we had. But, yeah, I remember being at WrestleMania, and if you watch that WrestleMania, you'll notice the...
You always check the nose after that from then on. To continue with the reoccurring theme, you were once King Hacksaw Jim Duggan. King Harley Race.
Oh, it was an honor to be in the ring with Harley Race. Harley was one of the pioneers of wrestling. You know, of course, we all used to carry guns back in the day. It was a different business. But Harley always carried a couple of guns with him all the time. But we did the Slammy Awards.
Yes.
Me and Harley had the Slammy Awards. I won 2 Slammys, one for Best Vocal and one for Best Hit, which I hit Harley. But anyway, Bobby Heenan is his manager. They called me up to receive my award. And as we do the award, Harley pushes me off stage. I go through the camera. And we fight all the way through the building, through the whole building. Actually, we did that the day before. So once he pushed me through the curtain, they would go to the tape and have me fight in one room, go to another tape and fight in another room. So, and they would match us up. They would look at Polaroids, and my shirt was torn here.
Oh, wow.
I had that there, so it would all fit together. But we go into this one room. There's llamas, camels, donkeys, chickens, bunny rabbits, all kinds of stuff in this room for no reason. And me and Harley are battling. Harley reaches down, he grabs a chicken by the head. Boom, boom, he hits me with a chicken. He killed the chicken.
Oh, no.
We shut down production. The chicken's dead. Oh, my God, the chicken's dead. Stop everything. Of course, we had churches for lunch, but that was...
Wow. King Haku.
King Haku, one of my best friends, met Haku way back, probably in 1980 in Hawaii.
Okay.
Working for High Chief Peter Maivia. You know, I broke in Texas for Fritz von Erich.
Yes.
I went up to the WWF for Vince McMahon Sr. I was working up there because I'm from Glens Falls. My dad knew Arnie Skolin. Hey, my kid, but I was a big kid, so they brought me down to TV. I'm doing jobs for Sergeant Slaughter, Ken Patera. You can see me versus Hulk Hogan as Big Jim Duggan.
Wow.
And the first thing I tried to do was get out of the Cobra clutch. And then, you know, of course, Sarge laid it in. And I could. So they called me in the office, and they said, kid, you might have a future, but come up with something better than Big Jim and get rid of that gold bathrobe. I used to wear a gold bathrobe to the ring, you know. So they said, we're going to send you out to learn how to wrestle. I'm thinking, you know, where are you going to send me, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to send you to Hawaii.
Perfect place. That's the perfect location.
So I fly out to Hawaii. I'm working for High Chief Peter Maivia. I'm living with Haku in a place called the Chateau Blue. We were making about $40 a week. We were starving. We were starving to death. Yeah, the poor Chinese all-you-can-eat buffet would be like, "No wrestlers, no." That's all the food we could eat. But I tell you what, Alpha and Sika, the Samoans, would come through every other month, because they would go to Japan, and on the way back they'd stop in Hawaii, do a show for the High Chief Peter Maivia, and they would take us out and buy us a steak.
Oh, that's nice of them.
You know, something you remember at 70 years old. I remember those guys because we're like, "Oh, meat."
You know, this is a good segue. Where, in your personal opinion, is the best place to get a bite to eat? Since we are talking about food for a second.
McDonald's.
What's your McDonald's order?
Well, I like the fillet of fish because you know what? I tell you what, a lot of guys are like, "I don't like McDonald's. I can't eat McDonald's." If you're a wrestler, you're going to learn to like McDonald's because no matter where you travel in the world, you can find a McDonald's.
There's always a McDonald's.
You're over in Japan, you're like, McDonald's. I'll try the McSquid.
Yeah. Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Wildfire, kind of a tragic story. You know, I was working for Georgia Championship Wrestling as Big Jim Duggan, and Wildfire was on top of the world there, you know, and I could see him being on Hogan Flair level, but I don't know what happened to him. I know I left the territory when Ole Anderson and those guys took over. But obviously, I don't think he filled all his potential. It's good to see Tommy, and he's doing better.
I was going to say, he told an actual story about you, about one night after a show, you guys went out to a bar, and he said you guys went out to a bar, and you walked into the restroom right when you walked in, and you were like, your words were, "I just got the feeling like somebody's just going to test us the minute we walk out of this bathroom." And the minute you walked out, some guy apparently got right in your face and was trying to, "Hey, you," and then you had a little scuffle and knocked the guy out with one punch.
Well, most wrestlers in general are a tough group of men.
Yes, absolutely.
The dressing room is, you know, you're always throwing punches, blocking punches. You know, people say, "Hacksaw, I saw you throw a punch. You missed a guy by that much."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, but you see when I hit him by that much."
Yeah.
It goes both ways. And the old joke, you're always a phony wrestler until you go to court.
Yes.
When you go to court, it goes like this: 10, 20, 30,000.
Wow.
Every time you hit them, they're like, "I'm going to sue you." I said, "I'm getting my money's worth. We're not done yet." But no, now you go out with security. But back in the old days, like I said, if people believed it and you were a bad guy, and that's where the 2x4 came from. I don't know, I'll tell you the 2x4 story real quick. You know, I was wrestling out in West Texas, and just getting back and forth in the ring was dangerous.
Yes.
People spit at you and punch you. You just had a little rope barricade, you know. Excuse me. So I'm sitting out like in Lubbock, Amarillo, Texas, in this little old nasty dressing room, you know, all covered with loogies and bruises.
Which they haven't changed that yet. That still
Rethinking my
exists.
career choice. And Bruiser Brody comes in. Brody helped me a lot in my career.
Yes.
Brody comes in. He goes, "Duggan, if you carry something to the ring, carry something you can use. Forget the feathered boas and sequin robes." And just in this old dressing room, I look down, I'm like, "Here's a piece of wood."
And then,
I came out yelling, waving that 2x4. It was like parting the Red Sea. Then people split. I got the ring. Nobody touched me. And carried one ever since.
all right. Lance Storm.
Lance, I don't know Lance really too well.
Team Canada.
Yeah, Team Canada. Lance was a great wrestling talent, but it was kind of vanilla, I thought. You know, Lance was, you know, may I please have everyone's attention. They put me on Team Canada, which was, you know, I think a Vince Russo decision to try to push me out of my contract, you know, but this is the way I feed my family.
Absolutely.
But first he made me the janitor of WCW.
Which was silly.
The janitor got over, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I know, it's silly, you know. And then so they called me into Atlanta, like, "Duggan," had to fly up to the CNN Tower up in Atlanta, the big office meeting, like, "Duggan, we're going to turn you against America."
Which is silly because you're
I'm
literally
thinking,
USA.
You know, where are we
USA.
going to go with this? Iraq, Iran, you know, what's going to happen? "No, you're going to be part of Team Canada." I'm like, "Well, we got a lot of heat with the Canadians. What the hell, you know?" But Yeah, it was me, Lance Storm, Major Guns. So there was two good things about the company.
I love it.
But anyway, yeah, but Lance would be doing his deal, and I'd be behind Lance, even though I wasn't Hacksaw. I'd still be behind him doing my deal. Shut your mouth, And they're like, Duggan, they called me back in the office and like, can you turn your stuff down? I'm like, turn mine down, turn his up.
Yeah.
It's the big leagues, baby.
Absolutely. The show Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty. I love those guys. When they were young kids, because Louisiana territory, Monroe, Louisiana, they would come to the shows that young kids come in the back of the dressing room,
Wow.
And so I knew them when they were kids. So as they developed and became the huge thing they did, they called me a few different times, and finally bring me in for the show, and I was a surprise guest. And if you watch it, it's like January, and I jump out of the back of the truck. Everybody else is in coats and jackets, mittens. I'm in a pair of short shorts and patent leather boots. I'm freezing my butt off. Holy smokes. But then we got done with, and I tell you, those guys were great, because I do a lot of TV with different types of people, and the cast and crew are always separate. Duck Dynasty, the crew and the cast are all sitting in there visiting.
Wow. I
sat with Phil. Phil had me in there by the fire. He's like, Hacksaw, have you ever been baptized? I said, yes, sir, Phil. I grew up in the Northeast. I'm a Catholic. I was baptized as a baby. He goes, that doesn't count. We got to baptize you again.
Wow.
I'm like, well, Phil, that'd have to be another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, they were good guys, and I'm glad to see them doing so well.
The last name on my list, I think this is the most important name, Deborah.
Deborah Duggan. Deborah Duggan and I have been together 41 years, and she's changed me, because when I first met Deborah, I was running with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, two of my best friends. Both are gone now. I was still carrying a gun. I was drinking a lot of whiskey. I was going to a lot of strip joints, had a lot of fights, and Deborah kind of weaned me out of all that. Because back then, people try to compare us to sports teams.
Yes.
We were more like a rock and roll band than a sports team. Every night you're in a different city, different country. Excuse me. But Deborah, this was recently, said, Jim, it's time for your physical. And I'm like, honey, I don't need a physical. I feel great. He goes, no, it's time for your physical. We're going to go in and get your physical. Went in, had my physical. I'll remember to the day I die. Doctor sat me down and said, Mr. Duggan, you have the most aggressive type of prostate cancer you can have. We have to have the surgery right away. So I had the surgery, and they said, that'll take care of it. Well, the surgery didn't take care of it. So they said, we'll do the 8 weeks of radiation. I did the 8 weeks of radiation, and that didn't take care of it. So I'm still messing with my prostate cancer, but I'm staying on top of it. My doctor said, as long as I take my medication, I'll be okay. So all you guys out there, 1 in 8 men will get prostate cancer. So it's very present. So get your checkups. It's just a blood test, so get your checkups.
Absolutely.
People say, Hacksaw, you look a little rough. I said, compared to Macho, I look great.
I like to end all of my interviews on a positive note. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you have a day to do whatever you want to do. What is Hacksaw Jim Duggan's perfect day?
Oh, I'll tell you, I get up. My wife makes me my perfect breakfast sandwich. I go out. I go, here, chick, 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 chick. And all my chickens come running from around the house.
Wait, you have chickens?
I got chickens. I got ducks. I got dogs. I got cats. I live out in the country. We got about 10 acres all fenced in with an acre pond on it. I love to be home. When you travel all over the world, there's no place like home. You get in your recliner and just have your cat and dog sitting by you. The chickens running around. I enjoy. I do a lot of big city stuff, so I like living. I live in a small little town in South Carolina. I love it.
So you get all the chickens together. Then what are you doing next, sir?
I got some worms. You got to feed them once you get them up there. So you got they have these mealworms, special mealworms. But also, you know what I like to do? I like to shoot.
Okay.
I like to shoot guns. Actually, just recently at WrestleMania, we're out in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Papa Shango.
Yes.
Godfather. He likes to shoot too. He took me and Deborah to his range, and we did a lot of shooting. You can find it on YouTube. Actually, we had a lot of fun because I grew up. My dad was a police officer.
Wow.
So I grew up in a police household, and when later in life he was chief of police.
Wow.
So I used to get all my ammunition for free. So I'd be bang, 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 bang.
Touche. Sir, please plug everything you want to plug into that camera right there. Social media, upcoming events, or just anything you want to talk about. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I got all my social media. I hope you guys check it out. I got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, right?
Yes.
Also, I got a podcast, and it's like I said, it's a different look at professional wrestling. Everybody sees all the negative stuff. It's been a great business for me. Like I said, Deborah and I have been together forever. Never had to go to rehab. Put two daughters through college. At 71 years old, I travel the world signing autographs. It's not effing wrestling. Wrestling is great. Tough guy. Ho!